Tightly cramped space, screams, abuse, and blood. A man beating a child, and a mother screaming for mercy, trying to save the child, but ending up becoming a target of abuse as well. Wine woke up, sweat trickling down her forehead, and a tear slipped down her cheek. It was yet another nightmare related to her past, which she was quite used to. Yet, every time she woke up from that nightmare, her heartbeat would be so irregular, as if she might get a heart attack someday. She looked around and realized it was evening. The sun had set, and she accidentally slept in a cafe, which she was visiting in the morning. She couldn't sleep last night, and that might be probably why she slept without realizing. She wondered why no one woke her up. She got married recently to a mafia, a man who was a villain in the eyes of the world. He lived up to the reputation of destruction and fear. One felt too intimidated in his presence, even though after what she had tolerated in her past made her immune to fear. Yet, this one man was able to bring her to her knees when she saw him first. But every thought turned when he instead ended up on his knees before her. He might have ruled the world, but he treated her like his queen, the one to rule before him. He had told her she was his woman and he would give her the word, and he had kept his words, except for a few conditions, that too for her safety, and one of them were to let him know if she went somewhere. Not because he wanted to keep an eye on her moves or take her independence away, but because he had enemies and he didn't want her to get in trouble, which reminded her that she needed to inform him. She looked for her phone but couldn't find it, not on the table, not in her purse. As she looked around, there were a few customers in the cafe having their time. She called the staff member to ask in case they saw her cell phone, but they didn't either. Sighing in defeat, she left for home. She could have informed the police and all, but for now she had no energy nor she wanted to fight for a cell phone, which she could buy again. As she reached her home, she found guards running around but coming to a stop as soon as they saw her. One of them took out his cell phone instantly, calling someone, and she wondered if she was the reason behind this commotion. She went inside and found Jungkook running towards her, coming out of his study room. He grabbed her wrist and dragged her towards their room without exchanging a word. Jungkook, she called, starting to feel uneasy. For the first time, she felt uneasy in his presence after how he treated her with so much love and affection. Jungkook, where were you? Jungkook, no, doesn't matter. I told you to inform me. If you didn't want to, you should have at least picked up my calls. But switching off the cell phone instead? What do you think would have that made me go through? I thought you were kidnapped. She flinched and balled her fist. She would have replied. She wanted to explain, but something about him raising his voice at her took all of her ability to process. Jungkook, I know. You don't have to. I'm sorry you have to live like that. But the man you married is not just an ordinary person. I have warned you 100 times. This was not something you were allowed to be careless about, for God's sake. Wine, I am, I didn't mean to. Jungkook, give me your cell phone. You're getting a tracker from now on. Wine, Jungkook, I didn't mean to. Jungkook, it doesn't matter what you meant. My enemies don't care about that. Now give me your cell phone. He yelled, and Wine flinched again, taking a step back. That one step by her, and his hand froze midair. He had a rough day. He had a rough life. He was a man surrounded by people ready to bring him down any chance they got. He was safe, but the thought of his wife getting hurt drove him insane whole day. But seeing her afraid of him in that moment was worse than anything else. His anger washed off his system, and he grabbed her wrist, pulling her in his embrace. Jungkook, I'm glad you're safe. I'm too glad. With a kiss on her forehead, he tightened the hug. Wine. I slept in cafe and lost my cell phone. I would have informed you. Jungkook, you would have. I know. I'm sorry. She started crying, and this is where he knew he wasn't going to forgive himself ever. Jungkook, Wine. Please don't cry. I'm sorry. I was just worried. I didn't mean to get angry. Wine. Why are you shouting at me? I want my Barbie. He frowned and pulled back. Her voice turned into one, like of a baby, and she started to wail like one too. Pushing him away, she walked to bed crossing arms and started to thrash her feet around. Wine, Barbie. I want my Barbie doll. I miss her. She yelled, then laid down and whined and cried more. Jungkook, Mayan, what happened to you? He cautiously walked over to her, unable to register her new behavior. Then she started to throw all the cushions on the bed away and glared at him. Wine, Mama told me to stay away from bad people. Go away. I will tell my teddy and he will beat you up. Jungkook quietly stood against the bed observing her behavior, and something in his heart twisted at the realization. She had a little space syndrome, and he was unaware. To be continued.